Going live. You are live. Awesome. Thank you all for joining another edition of Clifton's Clicks, your guide to the cosmos and cosmic channeling. Sponsored by water. Oh, that's good water. This one is distilled water. Got my distillation machine going on, but I figured out a filter so that way you don't have the noise here in the background. And of course, as we mentioned, water, distilled, structured, energetically charged, specific mandalas on it, as well as an energetic mandala that is about eliminating or transferring electromagnetic frequencies that our technology emits from something that is not harmonious to the human body to something that is harmonious to the human body, because we are energy and vibration at our core. Yes, how do you like that newscaster talk? Once again, I welcome you with all my love, respect, gratitude, and excitement. I am excited to share with you some incredible thoughts and realizations, and what I wish to deliver is a grounded message that holds in it some incredible cosmic truths. Once again, I give gratitude to all those who have brought me here, including Jesus Christ, including my parents and family, all the teachers, my girlfriend, and Victoria, and my business school, Columbia Business School, my high school, college, right? Because what I'm relaying today is truth that's grounded, and in order to ground it, we need a foundation. Obviously, people mention that you need a solid foundation to build up, but you also need a solid foundation to ground. For example, lightning strikes, it has to touch the ground, otherwise those charges just simply float in the air, and they're looking for a discharge. This too is similar to how one can view a channeler. It's simply just a mechanism by which specific currents that float in the air are looking to ground. Obviously, they can ground through thoughts, through entering into people's mental space, but also their thoughts. And more importantly, they're looking to ground in reality, in physical reality. And that's really where we as individuals are incredible alchemists, from the truest sense that we're able to take specific thought currents that are from an etheric field and a vibratory field that resonates in a specific frequency range, and through our bodies embody that message and live it, so that way it can express itself here on Earth and in other planets, but primarily here on Earth is quite a fortuitous place to explore and experience and learn what those types of thought currents would do for the collective consciousness. That brings me to wanting to have fun during this, and so I want to show you what you don't see. I've got here, it's an incredible Atmalinga, which is the embodiment and representation of the entire cosmos embodied in this here. And it was given to me after going through a Paramashivoham, which is an incredible 21 plus Swamiji's birthday 22-day program, in which we learn cosmic truths as passed down by the Vedic tradition. And what we do with this is we charge this crystal every morning through the act of practicing puja. And there are far more experienced people who can get into the details of puja. But what I will say is, just like you can charge a crystal in the moonlight and you get moon energy or it cleans your energy, quartz crystal, you can create a specific intention. And from a vibratory standpoint, what this means is you simply send it a specific energy current, thought current at a specific vibration, and it holds it and can resonate with that. Well, when one looks at this and can understand that it is, or treat it as the universe, as the cosmos, outside of anything other than specifically a quantum frequency view of it, you're essentially charging a crystal, a quartz crystal. This is a special type of quartz crystal. It's spatica is what they call it. I think it's like Tibetan ice quartz. You're charging with that kind of frequency. And of course, you're the one who's giving it that charge and that frequency. And therefore, if you are not as fully integrated in that concept of it really being able to hold such high frequency, then of course, you're not going to admit that kind of high frequency. And if your lifestyle prevents you from emitting a certain high frequency, then yes, the Atmalinga is not going to embody that. But as you continue to practice it and grow your ability to express higher and higher vibrational frequencies, as well as develop incredible devotion to the aspect of being able to emit or charge or embody such cosmic high frequency, then it actually works. It's a beautiful mechanism from a quantum mechanics perspective. And of course, we've got here, this is a tachyon charged plate, which tachyon can help energize water, can energize your energetic field, your subtle energy field. And we can go into that further, but it just is a beautiful way of increasing what you might call your chi or prana. And you can put it anywhere in your body, or you can just simply have it around. And of course, your classic, this is your blue kyanite that I thank Victoria for allowing me to utilize during these sessions. It is blue. Blue is associated with the back there, the blue chakra. The blue chakra. This is the throat chakra. I believe it's Vishuddhi is the official word. And mandalas are really interesting because they have you visualize the mandalas as actual circles, actual wheels that you spin. And the frequency of blue kyanite or ocean kyanite helps amplify one's ability to speak. Because the act of speaking requires a specific frequency, and oftentimes through our throats, this is where we speak. Or you can sing through your chest, your throat, your nose, but it's typically through the diaphragm. There's specific frequencies that you can identify to help heal your ability to speak. Just like you can have frequencies that can heal your liver or your gallbladder with something called the Rife machine and a few other machines out there that are being developed and being brought back from obscurity, which I covered in a previous episode. So these are all my fun tools, and the final one is your classic copper mug with this incredible black liquidy stuff called coffee. And I'm sure we all know about coffee. We are chemists by nature of drinking coffee because we are so focused on how to get the best tasting cup of coffee that we go source it from a high vibe land. We make sure that it's sourced from a single place, roasted to perfection, delivered to us in time. We want to make sure that we crush those beans at a specific time to make sure it's fresh, and we keep the temperature at a particular level, and we soak the beans in there to extract what we get as coffee. And so for those of you who might not think you are alchemists, and you make a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, well, guess what? You are an alchemist at the basic level. And alchemy is really what we're here to talk about, and various levels of alchemy. The one for today, I'm wearing a themed, beautiful old jumper from my business school. Today's theme is really about what people might call ecosystems. And there's various levels of ecosystems that exist all around. And any perfect system or any clear system is an ecosystem. So, for example, the rainforest is an ecosystem, the ocean is an ecosystem, and these ecosystems can be closed and open, and it depends on how you look and what your perception is as to whether it's closed or open. When you have a little terrarium, it's a fun science experiment to create a closed ecosystem to see how it works. But we all know that we exist outside the terrarium, and we can cause things to affect the terrarium, even though we are outside of it. So while there's a ability to artificially limit our perception to create a closed ecosystem, what actually occurs is a recognition that there's larger and larger and larger ecosystems impacting a smaller ecosystem. And this ultimately goes from recognizing that there's a terrarium to recognizing that there's a house that the terrarium's in, and a city, and a state, and a country, and then a world, and then a planet, and then universes. And so it's just about what kind of perception and awareness we have, as well as capacity to think about it and take ownership over what's impacting the ecosystem. And what we've done through the scientific experiment and scientific method is create as much as we can a closed ecosystem to observe how things respond and react. And the dissonance between those scientific studies that are published and what occurs in real life is the fact that we have more influences on the larger ecosystems as we grow. And this is something I covered, we fine, earlier, which is called upgrading your operating software. And really, upgrading your operating software includes the different various inputs that we go about our day-to-day life, starting from pure logic, or some of us start with pure emotion, and then understanding all aspects: logic, emotion, cognitions, time, space, intuition, psychic awareness, and then all the way to vibrational frequency, as currently we know it now, which parallels itself in the ecosystems that we focused on. The first one being ourselves that we control, or perhaps we want to artificially limit it and just focus on a terrarium or a plant. And then maybe we have an animal that we help grow in a closed ecosystem, say an apartment here in Brooklyn. There's a cat that we help raise, and this is the cat's life. And sometimes we freak the cat out by taking it to the park or to the vet. And so it's like, whoa, what is that? I don't know, but all I know that exists is what I can see in this apartment and these two weird places that freak me out. And then you're taking me to mom's upstate, and then I really freak out and don't know what's going on, right? And so we can clearly know that there's more to life than just an apartment, but to a cat or even to a fish, all they know is what they're confined to. And so upgrading your operating software can also be likened to what people might consider evolution of species, although that's different. But it's an upgrading of your operating software nonetheless. As we are children, we grow up in essentially a community of our family, school, and maybe a church or sport. And then we start to realize and understand that there's a bigger world out there, and then a bigger world, and a bigger world. And then we focus on the fact that the world is actually smaller and smaller and smaller, and it's actually quantum frequency. And then we realize there's planets and universes. And so the higher our operating software goes, the more we can understand all the different small pieces to it, understanding that its frequency at its largest expression, as well as we grow in our spatial awareness of what we can be responsible for and take ownership over, which starts with perhaps ourself or a plant or a pet, and then grows to larger organizations, including your family, businesses, community, government, worldly affairs, and even space exploration and multiple universes in that nature. So each one of those is an ecosystem, and my guru Paramahant, I think I got this right, Bhagawan Sri Nityananda Paramashiva. Yes, his name is intense, and as it should be. I'm learning how to say it. It changes all the time. It gets bigger and bigger as his mission gets bigger and bigger as well. I feel so. His mission is to create an enlightened ecosystem, and what an enlightened ecosystem is it's pieces of the components of our day-to-day lifestyle, community at large, and the way our operations uh, function to help everyone in it gain traction or progress towards their own state of enlightenment, as well as from that core enlightenment principle, all larger organizations function from a enlightened perspective. So, for example, you might have a boss who's not very good at managing people. Well, that's actually due to your boss's inability to recognize these things, which is will be revealed if and when he or she decides to do inner work and move closer towards a state of enlightenment. And the more enlightened one becomes, and the more responsible they become as well, which is a component uh, of organizational behavior, is responsibility, because one can be enlightened in isolation. But to be responsible and enlightened as your boss, then that is the ideal perfect boss, because he or she understands and has mastery not just of him or herself, but also the surroundings that he or she declares that they are responsible for, including you as a subordinate or a worker. Um, and even these hierarchical structures come into question due to a enlightened ecosystem structure. And all of this is written down in beautiful Sanskrit that when I read, my third eye here just goes bzzz, and I get incredible activations. I'm not quite sure what it means or what it does, but I just let it sit in my inner space, and all of a sudden things happen, clicks come, or I start to finally process it or understand it later on, which is kind of cool. So it's very similar to, yes, like the Matrix when Neo's like, or Trinity is like, yes, I need to learn how to fly a helicopter. Okay, let's go. That's essentially how it works from a channeler's perspective, and also from a third eye initiation activation perspective. And what's really cool is there's technology out there that is actually working on that from a different perspective. And I have helped them in the past, and I'm super excited about their progress. And they are a part of what I see as an incredible ecosystem that's coming, that exists at a frequency that is elevated from our current ecosystems here in the United States and at large. One of the interesting aspects of it is the question of whether or not it is at that peak pinnacle of what an enlightened ecosystem is. However, I am very confident that it is of a much higher vibratory frequency than what our ecosystem currently is. And so that's what I'm here to talk about and share, is how to bring about a higher vibratory ecosystem. And what's been interesting is that these pieces have been attracted to me, or I've attracted it, ever since going to Paramashivaham. And when I say I went to Paramashivaham, which is that 21, 22-day program, I actually had the blessing of being able to do it remotely. So I did it from my laptop, what I'm talking to you now on, in my apartment at that time, in my room at my sister's place back last year. And all these opportunities manifested after going to this program and to attending this program, as well as the realization that, hey, you still have some more inner work to do and some things to complete with, and responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. However, what's been coming is incredible understanding of what it takes to create an ecosystem at a higher vibratory frequency than what it currently is. And that's the framework, yes, that I like to use, that makes me feel very comfortable in saying it, because um, Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashiva has what he's building, which is the enlightened ecosystem. And I am learning and studying and have so much love, respect, gratitude, and bliss for all that he teaches me and continues to teach me. And he has a plan and things that are happening, and perhaps our paths cross in that ecosystem building perspective, or whatnot, and perhaps I join him. We'll see. However, the main point is that with the population growth that is occurring across the world, are generally three or four options, right? The first option is do nothing and allow overcrowding of cities to occur, allow there to be incredible disparities of wealth and of resources. Then what you can do is you can invest heavily on urbanization, which is occurring, including smart cities and making them more efficient, creating supply chains that are completely fluid with zero waste, which is great, and it's happening. There's like 2 to 3 billion people who are going to all flock to these cities. No, you have to build new cities, new mega cities, and of course, this is occurring as we speak in India, China, and Africa, which may not necessarily be fully felt or understood here in the United States. And I myself only have tangentially experienced that urbanization growth towards my travels, and talks at conferences and events, in Saudi Arabia, and my travels in India and whatnot. And that's an option, is to build these new cities, and then we can do forced control, population control, which wars are a pretty good way of doing that. We can do also, a fifth is subverted population control, which is by biological warfare or the equivalent of such, which some people are doing with just making us sicker and certain, like, anyway, I don't like going down that route. So I'm going to talk to you about the route I love, right? And that is the third option. I am the third Clifton, named after my father and grandfather. Yay! And it's the third option that I love. So what is that third option? So that third option is to build incredible ecosystems in rural areas. It's a no-brainer. You have people attracted to urbanization because there's jobs and opportunities there, and they are leaving their villages, their communities. They're leaving their family, their friends who may not be able to get a job or get the education out there, and they're leaving their hometown. And what's happening is, yes, it's great. You have disbursements. You go to a city or another country to earn a lot of money, to send money home, to help the family grow. However, you're separating family. It's that catch-22 of, let me go work for 8-10 hours a day to buy this house that my family can live in, but I'll never see my family, right? There's got to be a bit of a balance. And when the issue was purely monetary and survival based, then yes, that financial resources are very helpful. However, as a lot of modern medicine has helped longevity in these areas, what's happening is these parents are getting older. And while money is a nice thing to have, what they need is they need healthcare. They want their children back. And what's happening is it's creating a separation and a rift amongst family units, which then prevents the transference and respect of old wisdom and of the wisdom of our parents and our grandparents. And so, yes, sending money home is great. Getting a job is great. Spending time with your parents and family is even better. And staying in your hometown and building your hometown is really what I'm focused on. And I call that, what I call it actually is hospitals as a platform for urban development. Because the one thing that you can solve that will help the rest of it grow is to make sure that any urbanized area that you are building in a new spot has an incredible healthcare system. And what does that mean? Well, a healthcare system means that you have adequate food and supplies and nourishment, you have adequate housing and support, you have adequate and ample education, people who are able to be educated and deliver the results and services, including the proper infrastructure from an energy perspective and a internet perspective. And so if we solve and back solve for how to build hospitals, then in these areas, we can actually create a incredibly efficient, highly functional ecosystem that helps elevate the vibration of our planet because it avoids a lot of the negative aspects that occur towards overpopulation and leaving our elders in pursuit of financial support. And so overtaxing the system is something that is happening and is being observed in places like Delhi, Shanghai, even New York. Although, like Delhi and Shanghai, whoa, yeah, that's some intense stuff. And what you see too is that the living environments are much less ideal in these overpopulated areas. So we all go to the concrete jungle to work, et cetera, just to daydream to escape into a rural area or get back into nature. Well, guess what? We can actually bridge the two, and it allows us to create a more optimal solution. The challenge, however, has been what is a optimal healthcare system? You can see in places in Scandinavia and in Canada, universal healthcare system has specific pros and cons to it. In America, you have the privatized but kind of mandated healthcare system that is going through some major issues, and every region is different. Because, while we are the United States, living in New York City is different than living in Texas, which is different than living in, Seattle. And so all these are different ecosystems that we're just trying to smash one core model towards, which is a healthcare system. And so we're going through that fun exploration and, yay or boo, it depends. However, one of the things that we aren't really focused on is improving the healthcare system as a whole by re-looking at what exactly healthcare is. And we are in a way doing that, but it is in a way that is inauthentic and counterintuitive to those who are exploring it. It's kind of like looking at a politician and saying, hey, why don't you do an internal audit of the bureaucracy here and let's find some efficiencies. Well, that politician by definition is part of the bureaucracy, so how can he or she, unless incredibly self-aware, opt into a honest assessment as towards the bureaucracy that needs to be removed? And so here's the revolutionary fund that I would love to provide. So there is truth to all modalities of healing. Western medicine is incredible for urgent issues. It is a model of sick care. And a lot of people, including, I don't know if she's still running, but Marianne Williamson and other people have tried or attempted to be voices towards demonstrating that the model is broken and it's a sick care. Well, yeah, it's a sick care. So let's use it to help with people who are sick, who are like past that point. right? Because health and wellness is not a are you healthy or not, it's a spectrum. And so for those people who are on this spectrum of like really, really, really sick, it's a perfect place to go. Like if you have a massive cut or you have a heart attack or a stroke, you're not going to want to use any other modality out there for healing other than the emergency room or, Western medicine. Yeah, it's great for that. So let's honor that. And that is really important to establish because a lot of people I have come across and talked to sometimes forget that in their excited, passionate perspective of changing the healthcare system. It's great. It's super efficient. If efficiency were a prime directive of healthcare, as well as its cost saving, which of course back in Nixon's time, he passed a law, or a law was passed that allowed hospitals to profit. Before that, hospitals weren't allowed to profit. Well, guess what? Now you have a profit incentive. And of course, profit is great to identify operational efficiencies, and that is wonderful for productivity and a creation of larger and larger institutions and organizations. And it is a great measure in one perspective of resource allocation and usage. But we humans are not a computer, or at least we pretend like we're not robotic computers, where a manufacturing production line is the best approach towards treating us. If that were the case, a lot of modern technologies that work on our behavior therapy, et cetera, would work. Even medication adherence is a costly issue because we don't adhere to it. If we were computer programmed, it would be great. However, we're not simply logical vessels that a logical approach will not fully understand and account for. So, yes, healthcare, if you are sick, it is great. If you are in a low vibratory state, then going to a hospital is great to get healthcare, to get treated, and to help stop the problem. It's kind of like, yeah, your boat has a giant hole in it. What are you gonna do? You're gonna like meditate and try to like get some buckets to empty out the water that comes in? No, you just slap a stopper on that hole, and then you start clearing out your inner space. You start emptying out the water, and you can do kind of both at the same time. But no, Western healthcare is incredible and incredibly important. From that perspective, though, there's people who are not in dire need of Western medicine's approach. And in fact, a lot of people are coming into the hospital, to the emergency room, overcrowding our system, who have issues that the Western healthcare system isn't even equipped to handle. People who need just like a hug, or people who need someone to be like, hey, snap out of it. You're doing great. Go eat some candy, or go on a trip, or go in nature. And so these types of modalities, what might be more referred to as lifestyle modalities, are incredibly important, as well as the day-to-day function of making sure we're not in this end of the spectrum of sick, but we're more towards we're pretty good, but maybe we need to improve ourselves. Well, that's exactly where these different modalities, such as body work, acupressure, chiropractic, myofascial work, personal trainer, coach, a personal coach, a life coach, is so vital and so powerful. And we've separated all of these out into different aspects, but they are part of your health. They're part of your wellness. And so if we consider that I'm not in dire sick pain, but I definitely not fully healthy, that's exactly where that spectrum of health goes in. And then for those who are let me get the hands things. Wow, this is kind of fun and challenging because it's reversed. but who are in that end of the spectrum where they're like, hey, I take good care of myself, I exercise, I'm doing my civic duty and my family duty, but I'm not feeling fulfilled, or I feel like there's something more. That's where these incredible technologies and modalities exist that can function to serve you, because there's certain vibratory issues that a subtle energy approach has a bit of a challenge to get through. If you have a wall full of trauma, then we're going to have to really crank that subtle energy at you in order to get you to feel it. And of course, it works, but it's the resonant experience that you embody, a knowing that it works, that actually amplifies its work. And there's been some incredible distance healings by Qigong masters who spent like their entire lifetime healing people through the power of the Qi, and scientists who spent their careers studying it. And one of the interesting observed outliers, right? Because I'm interested in outliers, because I myself am one. But those outliers are, there seemed to be some sort of direct correlation between the amount of karma some individual has and the inefficiency to help them. And what this means is, if you've got a lot of health issues, if you're on like this 6 scale, then the protocols here, while they help you, won't help you as much as if you're kind of in the middle range of health. And that makes total sense. Now, of course, if you're here and you're having a heart attack, your preference probably not to go to a Qigong master, but if you have like heart issues, that's where you can go here and to here. And so it's about encompassing all of these different modalities to create a unified system. And what's brilliant about that is there's a specific normal distribution curve towards the job creation in this model. Because, of course, these ecosystems, these hospitals as a platform for rural development, one of the things you need not just is besides infrastructure, which a lot of African governments have tried and realized that it's not the effective approach, is you need to have people who are working in those hospitals who are skilled and trained to be able to handle all the logistics and the supply chain and to deliver the treatment, which then means you also need the education platform and system to do so, which when you get into the Qigong master phase, that's a long time of training. And when you get into like the cardiac surgeon training, that's a long time of training. But in this middle, these different modalities, and of course, yes, things like chiropractic, you actually do more schooling and things of that nature. But for example, becoming a really incredible life coach, personal coach, trainer, massage therapist, Reiki practitioner, the amount of training is much less before you can actually get your hands on someone, right? Before you can actually see someone. And that's really what I want to say, is like each modality has like incredible lifetime of learning and mastery in it. However, what I'm looking at is the time before you're actually able to see patients or to see clients, which is when you start to actually have an impact on society, rather than kind of sit and just kind of absorb society's resources before you're able to amplify that, right? So your talents. So with that, I want to conclude on this beautiful 11/11 day and and say that what I'm really passionate about is building hospitals as a platform for rural development of the 1.2 billion people on this planet who don't have the education infrastructure or resources and are forced to migrate to urban areas which are already overpopulated and overburdened, and to create an incredible ecosystem that elevates the vibration of their communities, the communities around them, and the planet. This then is a very strong mission, a very grounded mission, and it includes understanding ecosystem development of power generation, water conservation and usage, of building developments, of healthcare systems, of modalities of healthcare systems, of food and agricultural production, of IT infrastructure, of education systems, and of business operations and family development. And the core is of how one masters themselves. And so these are all things that have I've attracted since going to Paramashivoham. And I encourage any and all of you who are interested to reach out about that experience, because it definitely was something that occurred from a non-logical perspective that then I was motivated to rationalize and understand logically, from a skeptic's perspective, and not just simply accept it because it's what you should do, because it was definitely contrary to what I would do. But now that I look at it, I can be like, this is the logic behind it all, and this is great. This is how you build ecosystems. And my guru is building enlightened ecosystems. I'm excited to build ecosystems at a higher vibration. Whether the paths cross, that'd be awesome. I'm still learning from him. He's still learning from the cosmos. I'm still learning from the cosmos. My past, video was all about channeling live, and it's a beautiful place. And what he says is enlightenment is a practice. It's a constant state that grows. You being enlightened today is different than what enlightenment for you tomorrow is, and so keep that in mind, or I encourage us to keep that in mind when I use the phrase enlightened ecosystem. There's a lot of stigma associated with it, but it's cool. Like this ecosystem, I have the pieces and the understanding enough. Like I don't have like everything, but like I have like a beautiful border. There might be some spots missing, but the multi-dimensional puzzle is certainly there, and getting more and more profound and beautiful as this matrix grows and as I grow. And so I'll leave that with you. Enjoy your incredibly pure, structured, energized water. Stay grounded, my friend. And I will catch you later. As always, so much love, respect, gratitude, motivation, and appreciation for the opportunities to talk with you and share with you all that is coming through and that has been coming through. And if you have any questions, please comment below. And yeah, if you're watching this, you're probably subscribed to my channel, so share it with someone. That'd be awesome. Thank you. And if there's something you want me to talk about, please let me know. All right. Have a great day.